Hello, and today I'm so excited to have my dear friend and colleague and a fellow mum, and also beautiful healer, Danae Arellaris. I welcome you back to Natural Harmony Community and also welcome to Village Voices, and thank you for agreeing to participate in our interview series.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be able to kind of have a chat with you again and sort of work with you, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
We found a way. We found a
Yeah,
way
there's always a way.
through all the challenges. And for those of you who don't know Danae is just a beautiful friend of mine, and first and foremost. But Danae and I met each other through Natural Harmony Clinic. Danae wandered up the stairs into the clinic one day, and she was looking for a space to facilitate her yoga classes from, and we hit it up. And some of you might remember her when she was offering classes at Natural Harmony or in her own beautiful studio, in her home studio in New Gisborne. So Danae Wellness is your first baby, I suppose, in terms
Yeah.
of in terms of what you offer the community. So yeah, it's just been such a pleasure connecting with you over the years and working with you and
Yeah.
workshopping with you.
Yeah. It's
So
been such a nice experience to share that with you. Absolutely. Yeah.
definitely. And today I invited you with an intention to share a little bit of your journey with the community, especially mums and dads who are listening, because your story, I think, is relatable and full of different challenges. But what I love about it is that you have a special angle that you look at life with, and I think it's really beneficial for people to hear it and to see how you approach life and approach everything that life throws your way. So yeah, I think I'm really excited to be interviewing you here. So if that's okay with you,
Yeah.
I'll start you off with a question that, at the start of the year, something really dramatically changed for you, and
Sure
that
did.
there was a new beginning, and that new beginning was you started your own family.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your experience in terms of becoming a mum, and also mum in the early 2020, when just before the world
Yeah.
completely changed.
Um, I think, you know, becoming a new mum in general can be quite challenging because so much changes. And I think, which we're talking a little bit about before, how dynamic changes with our relationships. But I've always worked and I've never not worked. So when everything sort of came to a halt and I did welcome my little bundle, Evie, into the world, I, my career and everything was sort of put on hold. And that was a really strange feeling for me, not to be doing anything like that and really trying to fully embrace motherhood. But with that, I think the first few weeks was very challenging, because you sort of realize that you're responsible for this person. And I think with the dynamics of me and my partner, when he went back to work, we sort of realized that not as much had changed for him. He still sort of had that sense of freedom to, go. And I guess in the beginning, I did feel a little bit of resentment, and it did take a while to adjust. And the biggest thing that really helped us was communication. So really making the quality time to have proper chats and communicate about what was going on and how we were feeling and what was coming up for us. So yeah, that was a big, beginning to 2020. And then not long after having Evie, everything was changing in the world. We went into lockdown. So I think in a way, having Evie throughout this time has been a blessing in disguise, because she has been a really good distraction. And I have been able to have a really beautiful, like, one-on-one time with her. So as hard as it has been being isolated from my family and friends, I've really got a strong bond with Evie, and I'm trying to look at it in that sort of perspective, that, you know, I've had all this time with her without any of the expectations to be going and visiting people and traveling around and things like that. So yeah.
And what a beautiful gift. It's like the world and the universe just lined it up perfectly. Like, you don't have to choose. You don't, you can enjoy, you can receive that time and be present. That's, yeah, I think.
Yeah.
It's very rare that we can, I think, as mothers and, as a mum as well, I think it's rare that women can fully say that they could be present.
Yeah.
And perhaps I'm generalizing, but
no, I think as well, like in the beginning, I thought that I would step back into, I'll rewind a little bit. I don't know if everybody knew that I came from the airlines. I used to be a flight attendant, and then I was also teaching yoga at the same time. So sort of running Danae Wellness and being a flight attendant, trying to juggle these two worlds, which they did kind of complement each other, because Danae Wellness really helped to keep me grounded and centered, but then I still got to enjoy that aspect of traveling and seeing different places. Yeah, where the point I was getting to was that when I first had Evie, I sort of thought that I would delve back into Danae Wellness straight away, and I did maybe put a little bit of pressure on myself, but then I kind of, once I came into this acceptance that actually what I really wanted to do was just to hibernate and enjoy this time with my little one and let go of that pressure, I was really able to be present with her, and I've really taken my time to step back into Danae Wellness. I've been really slow at easing into it, and that has felt really good for me. So yeah.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. I think looking back at our previous conversations and that we've had in the past, makes me think about conversations that we've had where we've reached a certain stage of our work life, or it sort of an interesting point where we could go either way. We could either like let go, or we could go all in, right? It's like we've had those multiple discussions where, okay, do we go really hard here, like when we've done workshops and planning,
do we keep pushing against the grain and drive ourselves into exhaustion?
Like, we're really tired, but do we keep pushing? And I think it's such a beautiful point that you're making, and that comes from like this deep awareness that I know you have. And it's like, gosh, what if I just let go? Like, what if I just surrender? What would happen then? And I just loved observing you through that time, because you have this beautiful natural ability to listen to your own intuition. And I think if mothers are listening right now, and fathers, I think it's really important to develop that, isn't it? Like such a beautiful centeredness that you've got about you,
which I haven't always listened, and I know that when I don't it doesn't always turn out the way that is most ideal for myself. So I have, and we've spoken about this before too, I have run myself into burnout before. So I don't always listen, but I do try.
And look, and there's a wisdom behind that, isn't it? It? Like, there's a lesson behind that, and
definitely
what we can take away. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
So if you are listening, and you might recognize Danae not just from yoga and the classes that she's offered, or the workshop that she's offered, but also I have interviewed Danae just before she had Evie, and we did a birth planning session, which is available on our YouTube channel as well. So Danae, I know some women watching back would love to hear a little bit about your birth story and how you came to meet Evie. And I had this beautiful privilege to be there with you and your family, and I think I'm just so honoured that I could be there. Would you mind sharing a little bit with our community about your experience and Evie's birth?
Absolutely. I was very, very lucky to have you, Anna. That was amazing to be able to have one of my close friends and be able to have that support through my birth. But yeah, so I think I don't know where to start, but I guess I did end up having a natural birth. It was a very long labour, but I had an amazing support team around me. My family was such a, massive support for me, my husband and my sister and my mum and Anna in particular. And without them, I don't know that I would have been able to go through that long leg without that support. So yeah, I did all of that naturally with no drugs or very minimal intervention up until the delivery, and everything went reasonably smoothly. I just sort of had a bit of I think at one point my heart rate went up and I ended up being put on like a hydrating drip, so just to keep my hydration up. And then at the other end, so and I think you asked me as well, Anna, before, what was the most challenging part of it for me, and what was the most memorable, kind of when we were talking about it earlier. I think for me, when I look back, when I, you kind of go in the flow with it at the time, but when I look back in hindsight, I feel like one of the bigger challenges was to really surrender into, trusting in my body and the process of birth. I really did struggle to fully surrender to that, and it can be, I guess, a little bit challenging to do that when it is a bit of an unknown thing. So yeah, it was a beautiful experience, however, but at the end I did end up having a hemorrhage. So I did have to have intervention at the very end. So everything went smoothly. I had Evie, and then my placenta was delivered naturally, but then unfortunately I hemorrhaged and ended up having to kind of be rushed away at that point. So, and that, I guess, was another challenge in itself, was being able to accept that, I suppose, because having a natural drug-free birth was such a big goal for me. It was something that I really wanted to achieve, and it felt really good in my heart. Like I really wanted to have that. And then to still end up having, I guess, that intervention at the very end, I felt a little bit disappointed about in reflection. But I guess I've just taken the time to come into acceptance over it. Yeah, and then the most amazing and memorable part of my birthing experience was when I first got to see Evie. So when she first was placed on my chest, and just nothing else mattered from that point. And even though I was rushed off at the end, that I still felt so calm and elated in that moment that I wasn't worried about anything else. I just knew that she was okay. I knew that she was safe, and it's going to make me get teary-eyed now. I haven't really spoken about it for a while. So yeah, that was the most amazing part for me, was seeing her and seeing my husband's face and how he reacted to her arriving into the world. So yeah.
Yeah, there's going to be waterworks. From the other perspective, for us and your family and myself, like the world really stopped for like that moment. Just everything just became on hold, and it's such a dual experience or emotion of like this happiness and magical arrival of Evie, and also this holding of everything,
Yeah.
you know, because of how loved you are by us and by many. And so there was this period of 40 minutes of just
Yeah.
like, okay, we've got to really hold this space now of positivity and gratitude and just calm. And I remember like never have I ever like experienced that as a birth support person, or yeah, and having you as my dear friend, it was just, I just remember saying to stay calm, breathe, like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
when you returned, you were okay, and you know, you were really, really present. Like, that's just what I remember about you, Danae. And
Yeah.
you were just so present, and you returned right back to that moment of holding your baby and being with your family. Just like, I'm sure your world would have turned upside down in that moment.
I feel like in some sense it did, but at the same time, like you said, I kind of stayed, I tried to stay in that path of positivity, and that I just trusted that everything was going to be okay. I did have one small moment of fear, but it kind of instantly turned back around to, being positive, um, and then, yeah, like as I said, just being able to have that joy of Evie. And then when I returned and she was there again, it just, I don't know, it was this deeper kind of inner calling just to like stay present and stay in that moment and really enjoy her and not let that experience take over, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think as mothers, as new mothers or mothers to be, like, there are those underneath, there are those fears of, you know, of the unknown, of things that we cannot control. And
Yeah.
you know, I think what I can say really is your beautiful presence and your beautiful nature. I think you definitely attracted the right people. Even in the room, the doctors and staff were really beautiful and patient, and you know, reassuring around you.
Yeah, I think as well, when you said the word control, I think the other thing that kind of reminded me was just continuing to remember what I can control. So, yeah, coming back into the room and just going, okay, well, what do I have control of right now? Like, I might not have consciously been thinking that, but it's so ingrained, I suppose, in my mind. And because we did do a lot of work together before the birth, I was really in that mindset, and it really helped me to stay on path with, when you plan things to a certain extent, it's your default kind of response. So you kind of think in that pattern without having to put too much effort into it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you've already processed it in your own way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was an incredible union and reunion again.
Yes.
And
Exactly.
and we're very grateful that you are right here talking with
Yes.
us, sharing with
Exactly.
us.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then, you know, the rest of the world sort of started shifting and changing. And
Yeah.
I remember I had a couple of opportunities to visit you and see how you're settling in with Evie. And I suppose the world took over, and we haven't really had a chance to catch up to see, you know, how you are balancing life. So
Yeah.
share with us how you were able to process, you know, yoga. And I know there were stuff going on with your previous work with flying, and there's some major uncertainties in your life. And you know, how were you able to balance all those thoughts and going forward and becoming mum? You know, how was that for you, especially with you know, your husband Steve as well, and a different dynamic at home?
Yeah. I always say to everybody, like, the my practice of yoga and meditation is something that is always evolving, and I always end up drawing on throughout different phases of my life. And although sometimes aspects of it might fall away and it doesn't look the same as it used to, I always come back to the practice of yoga meditation. And breathing and breath work has been such a big thing for me to, you know, just meditate and sit with my breath and breathe into whatever I'm feeling at the time so I can process emotions. And
Yeah.
that's been a huge tool for me in this time. But yeah, like you said, all these things in the world have changed, but me and my husband come from the airline, so that means our jobs have been pretty much made redundant. We chose to take redundancy. And so that in itself was also a big change. So I guess we kind of are new parents, and then our careers have ended, and then we're in lockdown. So it was a big thing. And yeah, it did come with its challenges, and some days were really hard. But as I said earlier, we have kind of made this conscious effort to keep communicating with each other how we feel, and talk about what we're processing each day to get through it, and speaking also to family and friends, and not pretending like everything's okay all the time. That I think that's been the biggest sort of thing for us. And yeah, it has definitely been a big year, but those tools, like I was saying, that I fall back on to always from yoga meditation is always something that helps me get through. And sometimes I might fall off path a little bit, but when I come back to it, it always helps me return back to, I guess, the essence, the truth of myself, and it gives me faith in the unknown.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it sort of takes it back to birth, or maybe even pre-birth, and those feelings of wanting to have control and resisting. And so, you know, like we said, life just took the decision and made it, and showed you the way to go. And so sort of just softening into that breath. How would you say breath, you know, what are the benefits that you get from breath, do you think, that parents can benefit from?
I think when you take a moment to consciously breathe, you know, we're always breathing anyway. You think, oh, breath work, we breathe, it's whatever. But when you actually, you know, take a moment to sit in your physical body and feel into what's happening in your physical body, it really allows you to connect to your whole being. Because when you take a conscious breath, you're concentrating on the feeling, the sensation of the breath, and then sometimes that can lead on to, okay, well, how am I feeling right now? Maybe I can try to release some of that tension that I'm holding, or some of that emotion that I'm holding. So breath and the awareness of breath, and as they say, you know, breath is our life force. So sometimes when we're so stressed or holding on to things, we don't breathe properly. We stop breathing and we take shallow breaths. So when we really hone into our breath and take, even if, you know, it's not long, even if it's just 5 minutes, just stop and take some, you know, full conscious breaths, it allows us to come back into the body. It calms down our central nervous system and allows us to have more clarity of thought. So yeah, there's lots of benefits of breath.
Yeah, definitely. And sounds like it also helped you get clarity as well, and tune into what your needs are as a mum, and also as yoga teacher and meditation teacher and healer as well.
I think also in the early days, like I think, you know, breath and sound helped me through labor, which you heard. I was very loud in labor, which I never thought I would be. I'm quite a quiet person, so being loud in labor was new to me. But anyway,
you were great today.
I was like roaring animal. Anyway,
wild Amazon woman.
Yeah, I'm proud of that though, because I'm not normally like that, so I'm going to own that one.
Definitely.
So sound, you know, breathing and sound helps, but even in the early days of breastfeeding, you know, it can be quite painful, and just really allowing yourself to breathe through the sensations helped me get through the first, you know, couple of days of breastfeeding too. So yeah, I can't advocate enough about conscious breathing.
I love that you brought up pain and breath as well, because especially when the pain is acute, like really new and just so like piercing, it does take your breath away. So that re-engagement with the breath and going back into resetting the central nervous system, that's brilliant. I think brilliant tool. And so, where are you at with Dene Wellness at the moment? What's happening and what sort of activities are you up to?
So I sort of have been working a little bit behind the scenes, and as I said earlier in the piece, I've really just not put pressure on myself to fully throw myself into it, but I have definitely been missing that space a lot because it is part of me. It lights me up. It's something that I'm really passionate about. So when I wasn't doing anything with Dene Wellness at all, I actually started to feel a little bit down. So when I started to kind of slowly ease back into things and you know, relight that path, it lights me up. So I always make a conscious effort to spend a bit of time doing some things with Dene Wellness each week. So at the moment I do free 15-minute meditations at the meditation stop, and then I've started offering distance guided healing and meditation, guided meditation and healing via online. So that's something that I sort of felt called to do during COVID because we can't see people face to face. And even though I love working physically, I love physical contact with people in sessions, but this has been a learning experience for me too. And but I did feel called to kind of do something like that. So that's what I've started to offer. And yeah, I'm just slowly working on a few things behind the scenes that will come out soon, and been re-updating my website and all of that sort of stuff. So
yeah. And I'm sure, you know, it can be a little bit of a juggle and with a little baby in arms. So
definitely.
I totally appreciate that persistence. And you know, where you mentioned meditation stop, and where can people find you and that activity that you're offering with meditation and breath work as well?
Yeah, so the meditation stop is on Facebook. It's a Facebook group. You can find it through Dene Wellness, or even if you just search the meditation stop, you can request to join our group, and there's no prerequisites. You can just join, and all of the old meditations are on there, so you can kind of scroll through and watch something back if you want to, but I'm on there live every Monday. Yeah, it's just a nice way to start the week and kind of set a intention for what you want to put forward for the rest of the week. Yeah.
Beautiful. And look, is there anything that you would love to share with our community, or a piece of advice, or a thought from you, from Dene Wellness, that you'd like to finish off with?
Yeah, that's a good one. I was sort of, you know, thinking about community and everything that's been happening, and I think the biggest thing that sort of comes up is unity. So yoga is unity, so unity of mind, body and soul, but unity of community as well. And I think a lot of things that have been happening, in some ways the fear that has taken over in some people has segregated us, or segregated people in some kind of way. And I just think it's really important to come back to unity. So, you know, being kind to other people, and you know, rejoining in community, and trying to be more understanding of each other, rather than living in or from a space of fear, trying to live more from the heart space and communicating from the heart space. And I think that's really important in this time. And I'm going to do something that I always do. I've got my cards with me, so I'm going to pick a card and read them.
What do you have for us?
See, what does Anna's Natural Harmony community need to hear at the moment.
Beautiful.
We'll have
Just universal law of attraction.
Yeah, exactly.
We're focusing on our beautiful community and what you need.
So I got a beautiful card, which is the Uluru. I think it is.
Yeah, it is a Uluru. What magical.
It says, Namaste, blessing. The divine in me acknowledges the divine in you. I bow to you and honor your inner light of pure and unconditional love. Eternal peace be with you. Eternal love be with you. Eternal joy be with you through this serendipitous blessing.
Oh, that is gorgeous. Thank you.
Very
Thank
beautiful
you so
card.
much. It is. It's a gorgeous card. And look, you know, for people who are really new to meditation or spirituality or mindfulness, you know, you mentioned coming from a heart space. And so how would you put it really simply? What does that mean? How would someone have to act or behave in terms of coming from that space?
Yeah, I think, you know, meditation helps you to connect to your heart space because I think when you meditate, you kind of let go of any expectations or the ego mind. And the ego can be a good thing, but it can also be a distracting thing. And if we live too much from the ego mind, it tends to drive us not necessarily in the most positive of ways. But living from the heart space allows you to move through life living from your truth, so the truth of yourself, without any of your pre-learned behaviors or pre-learned patterns from, you know, childhood or society or whatever it is that we're consuming around us. When you live from the heart space, you become more aware of what you're processing, so what you watch on TV, what things you learn and pay attention to, your habitual patterns, the list goes on. but it's allowing you to live from your own truth and you know, blocking out all of those big outside distractions and reconnecting to the truth of yourself from more of an authentic space, so you can communicate from there, if that makes sense. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I think it does. It's like a beautiful guiding light, like a you know, a torch shining forward, and hopefully guiding us to where to go next if we're feeling a little bit lost or anxious or you know, not sure how to show up in the world, especially with different changes in our lives. Yeah. So as we adapt back,
definitely.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing, like, as you said, not sure how to show up in the world. And I think other people that may be in, because I've definitely had those feelings of, so people that might be in the wellness industry as well, or not even, but it can be, you can sort of get thrown off a little bit off track of how to be and how to show up. So I definitely think spending those times just in a bit of stillness and spending time kind of meditating in and allowing yourself to process those things, I think those answers can kind of come through. You can, you know, recenter and work out what resonates and what feels good for you moving forward. So I think you can get a little bit off track when such big things have been happening in the world.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your wisdom. Thank you for your time. I know your time is precious, especially with the little one.
And yours too.
It's always a pleasure connecting with you. I so look forward to reconnecting in face to face and giving you a big cuddle.
Yeah, be good.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you once again. And I'm sure many people will be enjoying this interview. And I will see you very, very soon.
Thank you so much, Anna. It was so lovely to chat to you. And I always enjoy having conversations with you. So, yay. Thank you. And yes, I will see you soon. So thank you.
Bye.
Mwah.